Hey y'all, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are when you see this video. Thank you for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. It is November 1st. Unbelievable, isn't it? 2025. Got a couple stories here for you. They're quite interesting. Going right to the first one. ROC to create commission to oversee priest bloggers. There's a picture of them. Russian Orthodox Church, if you don't know what ROC is. The Synod Commission will consider complaints about destructive statements by the clergy and impose disciplinary measures. The leadership of the ROC is discussing the creation of an internal body that will monitor the public statements of clergymen, writes blogger Pavel Gramatik, citing his sources. According to him, the Patriarch ordered the creation of a special watching commission that will be responsible for monitoring the public statements of clergymen, church bloggers, and TikTokers. Earlier, the UOJ reported that the State Duma called on the Russian Orthodox Church to defrock priest Andrei Takchichev. Okay. So, first thoughts on this. When I read it, I had mixed feelings. Because part of me is thinking, well, I think it would be good to have a monitoring overviewing of our clergy and how they are, if they're staying, within the boundaries of what the church teaches, the doctrines, the dogma, and all that. I think that is important, but then I thought, I don't know, is this too much overstepping? But I don't really think so. I only say that because, I have seen some weird things come out from the clergy and all kinds of different jurisdictions. Just in the church, sometimes they say strange things, but I think we should go to what was discussed here about the Duma, the State Duma. It called for the Russian Orthodox Church to defrock this particular priest. So let's go to what this priest has said. ROC priest, those who call for peace are acting under Antichrist spirit. What? Now, does that sound strange to you? It does to me. Well, let's see what he has to say. Archpriest Andrei Tkatchev, this is back in May, of the Russian Orthodox Church expressed his belief that those who advocate for peace actually want to sin as they did before. How did he connect those two? On May 6, 2025, the feast of the great martyr George the Victorious, Archpriest Andrei Tkatchev, rector of the Church of the Life-Giving Trinity in Khoklovka, Moscow, said in his sermon that those who do not want war and call for peace actually just want to return to their usual sinful way of life. How in the world does that make sense? How in the world does that make sense? How is it asking for peace would get you to stay in your usual sinful way of life? I don't get it. Speaking about the great martyr, the priest urged people to pray that he may help our troops today in the offensive, that he may protect our skies from enemy shells and missiles during the parade and all the celebrations. Yes, because the parade was on May 9th at that time, but so yes, I understand he's in the middle of war with Ukraine. I still find a hard time understanding and what he's talking about here regarding peace and what he said. Commenting on the topic of war, Tkatchev stated that wars will only fully cease during the reign of the Antichrist. Okay. The longed-for peace about which Soviet newspapers wrote, peace and security, peace and detente, peace for the whole world. All this will happen, but only on the eve of the second coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and during the times of the vile Antichrist. Until then, people will fight. Okay. The priest declared, assuring that the prosecutor's office, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the FSB, the Ministry of Emergency Situations, and all branches of the military will be needed until the very last judgment. How long does he think this war in particular is going to last, and what other wars does he think he's going to be fighting, and his country's going to be fighting? And he's talking physical wars here. I don't see anything about spiritual wars. And those who want peace and security out of time have the spirit out of time. So how dare you ask for peace not at the time when you're supposed to? Have the spirit of the Antichrist. Okay, so they think that you're wanting the Antichrist to be there for peace? I'm trying to understand this. Maybe you all can understand. All these literally no to war advocates, those among us who are for everything good and against everything bad, they, of course, don't think of it this way. They think they are great Christians, but in reality, the spirit of the Antichrist is at work in them. Okay, in his opinion, those who call for peace actually seek it only to continue sinning. I don't understand this connection. Is he saying when your country's at war, you don't sin? Maybe because I'm going to try to see if I can understand this. Maybe he's meaning something else, but I'll get to that later. A cowardly, faint-hearted, carnal spirit of the Antichrist that wants peace not for God, but peace for sin. Okay, give me a peaceful life so I can sin like before. And don't interfere with my life. Don't stop me from traveling, drinking, eating, earning, and sinning. That's why I need peace. Give it to me. That is the peace of the Antichrist. Okay, I'm semi-understanding. According to him, normal people understand that everyone wants peace, but since sin lives within man, there will be no peace until the world is entirely recast in the fire of a great flame. Okay. I'm going to try to look at this from a charitable side. I guess he's saying when a country is at peace, they're more lax. They don't think of God, so they tend to sin more because they're not thinking of God and they're kind of just living their life without God. Is that what he's meaning? But when you're at war, there's life, death, lives are lost, and there's more of a urgency to be close to God at that time. So then there's less sinning. That's my best guess on this particular understanding from this priest. However, I don't know, the way he's putting it isn't very good. It's not a very good explanation. If that's the route he was going, I don't see that good at all. So I think this that happened in May have prompted the synod, the State Duma to tell the synod, the church, to come together and do something about such comments, even though the state is in the middle of a war. They are in the government dealing with this war. I'm just trying to understand this. This is really odd. But that's my best understanding of what he was trying to say, but I don't think he really pulled that off very well at all. I think it can be offensive to people who just want peace. And you don't have to be without God. You don't have to be without God just because you're living in peace. I don't know. But I found that very interesting, and it seems like a good discussion point to discuss. Yeah. And again, I'm not totally against having synods keep track of what the clergy, the bishops keep track of what the clergy is doing, the priests and the deacons, and, how are they sticking to what they should be discussing in homilies and sermons, because, there's the the Orthodox don't like to talk about politics. The clergy aren't supposed to talk about politics when they're talking about sermons, because it has to do with spiritual issues about your soul. So you won't see much political, if any, in Orthodox sermons. But there may be some out there, some priests that may be doing that, and maybe not they're in the nave, but I've heard things like that happening in Bible studies, outside of the actual services. How do we judge that? How would the synod take on that issue? Does that count? So there's many things to think about there. But definitely what Father Alexei, I think his name was, or Andre, what Father Andre said there just did not come out the way I think he meant it to come out, if one is looking at it charitable and understanding it the way we think he meant. So what are your thoughts on this? I'd really love to know. Boy, would I like to see your comments on this, because this is quite an issue. This is quite an interesting subject. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for following my channel. You all are a great support group. I enjoy reading all of your comments, and I read all of them, as I said. If you like my videos, go ahead and, click the like button. If you find any of my videos informative or interesting to share and discuss with others, go ahead and do that as well. Thanks so much. As I said, I hope you all are having a great evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are when you see this. Until next time.